Yeah, hi there, Alex. This is Michael. I am the founder, owner, and the materials writer for all of your lessons at Stealth, the 7-step system to pass the TOEFL IBT. And before we get into this who and whom discussion, you said something at the very end of your video. You say, I'm trying to improve my English in order to pass the TOEFL exam, so any advice you can give me would be very useful. I don't think this is a major factor. In fact, I'm going to tell you this. If you're not sure whether to use who or whom, use who. And you'll probably be fine. The whom, which is an object relative pronoun, is actually dying out from the English language, and probably 50 years from now we won't even be having this discussion. So keeping that in mind, let's take a look at what you say. You say, I was watching your video on the use of who and whom, and I wonder if you can give me a hand with the two following sentences. Yes, I can. So you have number one. The boy who or whom I trusted proved worthy of my confidence. So you said, I've tried to explain what you explained. I tried to apply what you explained in the video to understand how the first sentence is structured. So this is what I got. So step one, you have the boy proved worthy of my confidence. That's the main idea. Yes. And notice boy is in a subject position. Then you have I trusted him. And this is what's called the dependent clause. And him is coming after the verb, which means it is now in an object position. Then you get to step two. I trusted whom. Step three is whom I trusted. Step four, then you say the boy whom I trusted proved worthy of my confidence. So there you go. That would be the correct way to combine those two sentences. You say, so if what I did is correct, then is it okay to use the objective case whom in the first sentence above? Am I right? Now, if you say, here's what a lot of native speakers are going to do. I mean, they will take a look at your sentence and they'll say this. A lot of native speakers will say, the boy who I trusted proved worthy of my confidence. Now, is it grammatically correct? Does it follow the standard historical conventions of usage? No. But a lot of speakers would use the subjective case here instead of the objective case. So here, the boy whom I trusted proved worthy of my confidence. That would be the correct way to combine the two sentences based on the historical uses of who and whom. All right, let's keep going. You say, however, I'm still confused when analyzing the second example. He was the man who or whom they determined should be the next major. You say, I intuitively guess that the nominative case who would be okay here, but I can't figure out why it is this way. Could you help me understand this sentence? Yes. I guess it depends on how you want to look at it. If you separate it out, let's say that we take this idea and let's make it a little bit bigger here so we can take a look at it. The main thing we want to do now is to separate. We want to separate it into two different sentences. He was the man. That's one sentence. Then this is the next one. If you look at it this way, so he was the man who or whom they determined should be the next major. You say he was the man. They determined him to be the next major. If you look at it that way, in this case, you look at him. Him comes after the verb, right? So this is what's called an object relative pronoun, not a subject relative pronoun. So then I think what you would do here is this. They determine whom to be the next major. I think you take this idea. Yeah, this one is a little, if anybody's watching this video, if you want to shed some light on this, whom they determine to be the next major, if you look at it that way, and then you combine it like this, you know, he was the man whom they determined to be the next major. Now, there's probably another way to look at this particular sentence. He was the man. If you look at, they determined that he should be the next major. If you look at it that way, you're using a noun clause, combining that with an independent clause, and that's totally different. You can't kind of look at it that way. But if you look at the way that I was looking at right now, I would use the word whom here, because they determined him to be the next major. So I would use the word whom here, not who. Now again, if anybody else watching this video, if you have another, I think another way to look at this is kind of like this. If you separate it out, you have this. He was the man that they determined should be the next major. No, I don't think we would say it that way. They determined. I guess you would do it like that. So if you reduce it, you would reduce it that way. So, okay, Alex, so let's go back to what you're saying here. So looking back at the sentence, you know, he was the man who or whom they determined should be the next major, because I think whom is functioning here as an object relative pronoun, then whom, WHOM, replaces that particular word. So if you look at it this way, I don't know if this will make sense to you. Think of it kind of like this. You think of who, it's kind of like he or I. Or you have whom, it's kind of like him or me. So what's the difference here? Who, this is what's called a subject pronoun. You have whom, it's what's called an object pronoun. Something like that. Think of it kind of like that. So if you know the difference between he and I, we versus us, you know, he versus him, I versus me, or we versus us. If you can understand the difference between those types of pronouns, then you should be able to understand the difference between who and whom. And keep in mind what I said in the beginning of the video, though, Alex, is whom is dying out. It will probably not be used that much in the next, I'm going to say by the next 50 years, 5 decades, it may die out from the language. So a lot of native speakers, they have no idea how to use whom. And when they use it, they typically will use it incorrectly. All right. Anyway, I hope that this video has given you some good information, and thank you for your questions.